Formula One is back. Hearing the sounds, seeing the cars on the big screen just makes it feel like we're back in that moment. Just Formula One being around makes everybody 100 times happier. Just that type of sport, a beauty of a sport, and it does a great job of just making you so hyped up for something as stupid as testing. And it gives you some talking points. Why not? Testing is a time to speak. Like, listen, I know it's not the most accurate of results, but listen, I told you guys. I told you guys Aston Martin is here not to play this season. And I'm not being fully serious when I'm saying this. I do believe that they've improved, and I will talk upon those points, but I don't genuinely believe that they're the second fastest, and this is the end all for Aston Martin. They're winning championship this year. No, I don't believe that, but I will make some points and speak about every team that we saw in testing on the first day and what's going into the second day. Before this video starts, before I speak about every single team, please like and subscribe. We just hit 500 subscribers not too long ago. Thank you all so much. It means the world. We're killing it, and thank you. It makes me happy that you guys love the content that I'm putting out, and I'm really only motivated to make so much more and to stay here for so much longer. So thank you. Please subscribe and like, and let's get into the video. Okay, starting it off, the first team that I want to talk about is Williams. We're going to go from Williams to whatever team we just end up going into. It's going to be a random order. And by the end of it, at the very end of the video, I'm going to put which teams had a great day, which teams had a bad day. I'm going to try and do this for every single day. Sometimes it might be a video, sometimes it might be a community post. They had, I would say, a pretty decent day considering the Williams squad, but what kind of killed it for me was that Alex Albon at the very end of it spoke that, hey, listen, we got to be realistic. I drove the car. This is Alex speaking, obviously. He says he drove the car. It's still very unstable. It's not that euphoric feeling that they felt during their shakedown. The car still has its problems. They're fixing the balancing, so on. So for Williams, I guess we can say it's been an okay day because Logan put in a good amount of laps. Williams as a whole put in a good amount of laps. Their reliability was pretty good. And yeah, their rookie got some time in the car. So, and out of the 3 rookies, Logan Sargent finished on top. That won't happen in the season. I genuinely still believe that the Williams car is the worst on the grid. But I do think that, hey, maybe they could go off of this, and let's see what James Vowles can work around with the 2 boys at the Williams squad. Second team I want to talk about who had a pretty bad day in practice from what I saw is Haas. Haas is the team that they either kill it in the beginning of the season or they completely fall off. And they were not good in this testing session. They were not good. Both Nico and Kevin had a lot of lockups. It was a pretty awful day when it came to finishing laps. Yeah, they did do their run plans, but the car felt very unstable per se. It looked like the car was very hard to handle. It didn't seem to be doing what they wanted it to be doing. So for that reason, I gotta say the Haas did not have a great day, and they didn't really look like the Haas from 2022 from the beginning of the season, because the end of the season was not a good, I guess you can say, marker for the Haas team. Getting into McLaren. As for McLaren, I would say out of all the teams on the grid so far, Haas and McLaren were the ones that I think had the worst of days. Oscar Piastri had a huge lockup, and that did not help his run session, so he had to run with a locked up and worn down wheel. The run plan was not completed. They had the least amount of laps in the day over any team, and Aston Martin had Alonso's floor broken at some point. They had to fix that, and they had the first problem of the session. So McLaren having the least amount of laps is a huge loss for them, especially because of the rookie Oscar Piastri, and that really does not help them in this, I guess you can say, long run for McLaren. The car didn't really look stable at all either. The brakes, yet again, McLaren and their brakes, man. I mean, we knew what happened in Bahrain last year when they finished 15th and 16th in the opening race. It seems like the brakes are just something that they cannot get to grips to. And the car looks exactly like Red Bull. Come on, man. Come on. Use that Red Bull knowledge and kill it. I'd like to see McLaren up there. Who would not want to see McLaren up there? Everybody loves McLaren. Going on to Alpine. Alpine had a weirdly quiet day. Yeah, they finished super far behind, but they did a lot of laps. And I think they ran the plans that they wanted to. They were clearly the team that didn't run any of those, like, I guess you can say fast laps. But Julian Palmer did say that Aston Martin is over the Alpine and McLaren when it comes to actual speed. I don't know how reliable that is, but watching testing, it definitely seemed like that Alpine was behind. And yeah, we gotta see where its full potential is at. When you look at the kilometers per hour for every single team, Alpine wasn't that far behind, but I don't know. They were running a pretty weird plan and there wasn't really any, like, I guess you can say fast laps. So Alpine is kind of in that middle ground for me. When it comes to Alfa Romeo, the same way I feel about Alpine is the same way that I feel about Alfa, just a teensy bit better. By the way, that car on board looks amazing. Chef's kiss on board. I don't necessarily love delivery from the outside. I think it looks good. But man, on board though, that black and red, the way it looks, wow. It looks better than the Ferrari on board. I'm not even joking when I say that. It looks genuinely great. I was so happy with how it looked. And another thing, if we're talking about the car liveries, they look so much better on the big screen than the renders. And I gotta wait next year to make my liveries list on the big screen. I wouldn't have put any of them in awful, and maybe the AlphaTauri is not my least favorite. Alpine is still pretty bad. Going into now AlphaTauri, they're another team that I think was running run plans like Alpine, but also did not have that great of a day. They're the only team that I saw, genuinely, the Ferrari a little bit too, but AlphaTauri had big time porpoising. Now I'll put up the clip that I saw. It was a turn into, I think that's turn 12. It's that like roundabout turn going into sector 3. Oh, that was not good. It was bouncing a lot on that turn, and that will definitely take down performance. Going into Red Bull, let's speak about Red Bull. Red Bull had a great day. Seamless. Max Verstappen drove 157 laps. Correct me if I'm wrong. He drove the most laps out of anybody, and it was just him today. So you already know his neck is going to be feeling it coming out of this day in testing. But it did what they needed to do. The car just looks like a beefed up RB18. Somebody said that it looks like it's on steroids. I actually agree to that. It's like the RB18 that's roided up. So no, the Red Bull looks mean yet again, and we'll see how they come out. They're already coming out swinging in testing, so I'm excited to see what the Red Bull offers this year. Now, Ferrari had a good session. I think they had a good session. You could see a little bit of porpoising. A couple of like shots that I saw of Charles Leclerc kind of looking like pissed off, but you got to be pissed off. He's got to be in that mood to win. He's got to have that like heart to fight. So I want to see a pissed off Charles Leclerc. Why not? Give us a little bit more of that action. But yeah, the Ferrari had a good session. I think that they did good for their run plans that they had. The car probably performed to what they wanted it to perform to. They're already getting called out by Mercedes and Red Bull, so they're doing a good job of that. And yeah, I mean, the Ferrari was good. The Ferrari was good. There's not really much to say. I felt like they could have had a faster lap for sure. I think that they're hiding a lot still with that car. Moving on to Mercedes. And I think that Mercedes had a very seamless session. It was a good session. It's not a great one. I would say that there's only two teams that I think had a great session, and I will name the two teams. But it was a good session. Mercedes was good. The car was not porpoising. That is a huge deal. It seemed like Hamilton and Russell were pretty comfortable. They're not really coming out and saying anything. Typical Mercedes, typical big teams. Long story short, I am happy that the Mercedes car is looking good, and I'm sticking with that prediction. I'm telling you, this car is going to come out swinging. They're hiding a lot still. And I would expect for day 2 and 3 that they're going to be buffing up that car and going into way faster laps. And as for the last team, Aston Martin, my biggest surprise, but the one that I had the most faith in for how their session went. I think it was a great session that started off terribly. And what I mean by that is they still ran 100 laps, which I mean is not too bad considering what happened. It was unlucky with Fernando. With Felipe, I guess just an electrical issue. That's not too bad if they fixed it like this. So I guess it's not too much to really think about and to like overthink it. So, but the way that they ended their session, the car ran a lot of long run stints that were really well done by Fernando. I don't really remember Felipe's session too much, but I guess you can't really use Felipe as too much of a marker. So I also didn't use like Oscar and the others for markers. I really used Lando for McLaren, knowing that they did not have a good day. But yeah, because Felipe is not going to be their starting driver, so that's not why I'm using him. But for Fernando, it was a great session. Finished P2. I could have finished P1. Easily could have finished P1. There was a couple of lockups on that. The car was stable. The car was doing what he wanted to do. A couple of times, it definitely had a lot of understeer. There are a couple of turns where you can clearly see him moving the wheel and it's not moving that much. There's a funny clip actually of Vettel last year in Australia where he literally does this and the car does not move an inch. It's insanity how bad that AMR23 was at the beginning of the season. But AMR23 already up there, and I'm expecting big things from those boys. They look mean, and I'm expecting mean things from them. What are your guys' thoughts down below? Please leave a like, subscribe. It would mean the world, and